Today we're going to make our cherry pecan oat bars. This is a very fast, very simple recipe to make. Our ingredients here, we have all-purpose flour, we have quick oats, as well as rolled oats. You can see that the quick oats are almost kind of broken into pieces and they're much thinner than the rolled oats. I really believe that it's important to use both of these in the bar to get the best texture when it's finished. We have brown sugar, of course, baking powder, a little bit of salt, powdered cinnamon, pecans, butter, and we're using a can of cherry pie filling. This is a 30-ounce can of cherry pie filling. So to start with, we've got our pie filling just in a mixing bowl here, and what we're going to do is break up these cherries a little bit. You could use your hands if you like, or if you have a potato masher, that works well too. We don't want to make this like a puree, but we just want to take some of these whole cherries and break them up a little bit. This way we'll get more of an even layer in our finished bar. That's good there. Okay, today we're using this 9x13 baking tray. This is a sheet pan. Technically this is a quarter sheet pan size. If you don't have one of these, highly recommended. I can put a link in the video here to where you can purchase one online, but these are great to have on hand for a lot of different things. You could use a different size baking pan or even a glass container. That's fine too. You may just have to adjust the bake time a little bit, but these work really well for a lot of things. We're going to make this very easy just by adding a piece of wax paper, parchment paper, that's going to fit over the entire pan, and then when we make the bar, we're going to press it in, it's going to hold it in place. This way you don't have to worry about the edges sticking, and it's very easy to lift it out of the pan. Alright, so everything is going to go into one bowl. Flour, rolled oats, quick oats, brown sugar, baking powder, salt, ground cinnamon. We're gonna get in there with our hands and just mix this up nice and even so that all of those things are distributed evenly. Okay, now we'll add in the pecans. Just mix those through quickly. And lastly, it's time to add our butter. So this is cold butter. You can see that it's diced. We're gonna just work this in with our hands, almost like making a pie crust. So you wanna grab the pieces of butter and almost kind of smear it between your hands. So we've been mixing this butter in, kind of smearing it together between our fingers, only about 2 or 3 minutes now. And you can see we've got these nice clumps, and that's exactly what we're looking for. There's no real pieces of butter that haven't been broken down a little bit, and what you want is to have some clumps in here where if you squeeze your hands together, it stays together for the most part. Not entirely. You want to still have those nice flakes of butter, so this is where we want to be. Alright, so now it's time to build our bars on the sheet tray here, and what I want to do is kind of divide this into thirds. Just roughly by eye, it doesn't have to be exact. And what we're going to do is we're going to use 2/3 of this on the bottom layer. Then we're going to add our cherries, and we'll use the top third to crumble on top. So you can see I've just kind of roughly divided that up into thirds. Here we have our sheet tray, and I'm going to take 2/3 of our dry mixture and add that to the paper-lined tray here. So I've got roughly 1/3 left in the bowl. And now with this first portion, this first layer, we really want to press this in firm. Work this into the edges, into the corners. But really take your time and press this in firm, and this will give you a crispier texture to the finished bar once it's baked. If it sticks to your hands, you can always just run your hands under cold water real quick, and that will help prevent. But we're looking for a nice, firmly packed in bottom layer here. Alright, so we have our bottom layer packed in, nice and firm. Next we're going to add the can of cherry pie filling. We're going to use the entire can here. And then with either a rubber spatula or some kind of an icing spatula, just spread this out evenly from edge to edge. All right, and then the last step here is to take this remaining third that we've saved and crumble this across the top. We don't want to compact this like we did the bottom layer. We want this to be kind of loose and crumbly, you know, bake and kind of get a little bit crispy and bake into that cherry layer. So nice and even. Squeeze a little bit so you get some clumps, but not nearly as much as we did on the bottom layer. At this point, we're ready for the oven. Okay, so we've been in the oven now for about 35 minutes. You can see we've got some nice brown on top. Filling is bubbling, good even color. At this point, we're gonna pull it out and let it rest onto a wire rack to cool. Okay, so the bars have been cooled in the refrigerator for about 5 hours, or if you like, you could do it overnight. And all you have to do is just grab the edges of the paper. You can lift the whole thing out. Carefully peel back from one side. So you can cut these into any size you want. I typically will just start by cutting this in half. I'll usually use a large knife so I can push through that bottom crust, and then from here just kind of cut them into individual bars.